Hello, everybody. So I wanted to recap the Mayweather and McGregor fight. As you may know, I predicted that Mayweather would win. So, yay. But, when I watched the fight, I will say that, I was surprised that McGregor did as well as he did. But I also thought in my mind that Mayweather wasn't going to win to the 8th or ninth round, because that's usually what he does. He usually kind of takes the first 3 or 4 rounds and to feel out the person, etc., and then wins in the later rounds. So I was very surprised as how well McGregor did. I wasn't surprised at the outcome whatsoever. And it's nothing really surprised me in the fight, except for the fact that McGregor did as well as he did. Having said that, I still feel the same way, that the fight was a joke. I've been getting a lot of people telling me, it was such a great fight, and this and that. And nah, it wasn't a great fight. It was great because McGregor did better than everyone thought he was going to do, but it wasn't a great fight. And you also get people saying, why didn't Mayweather should have won the fight earlier? Really? My problem with that way of thinking is, yeah, I understand, just like I said in my video earlier, that, McGregor doesn't have a chance because he's fighting someone who spent his whole life boxing, and McGregor is an MMA fighter, and MMA boxing is completely different than regular boxing. The stance is different, the jab is different, the approach of the fight, the angles, everything's different, because in MMA, it's a different world. You got takedowns, kicks, and it's just a different world. Having said that, I don't hear anyone talking about the fact that Mayweather is 40 years old and came out of retirement after 2 years to fight this guy who is 11, 12 years younger than him in the prime of his life. So, it kind of balances out. Yeah, Mayweather has a lot more experience than McGregor, but McGregor is a lot younger and in the prime of his fighting career. So, my response to those people is, get over it, all right? The fight was better than everyone thought it was going to be. I'm glad, because it cost like $90, so at least we got a pretty decent fight out of it. But again, it's just for money. And at the end, I don't know what the total is going to be, but, McGregor is going to make like up over $30 million probably on this fight. I don't know for sure the exact number, but he's going to make more on this one fight than he will in his whole MMA career. So that's why he did the fight. And Mayweather, because of money. I'm not a big fan of Mayweather, believe me. I grew up in the Sugar Ray Leonard era, and so that to me is the great welterweight, middleweight, is Sugar Ray Leonard. And, Mayweather being 15-0 now, he's no Rocky Marciano, believe me. So, I don't have a lot of respect for Mayweather. I just believed wholeheartedly that he was going to win, because he is a 1,000-time better boxer than McGregor. So to recap the fight, I would say that the fight was better than I thought it was going to be. The outcome was still what I thought it would be. And I still have zero respect for either one of them as a fighter and as a man. I just think that they need to stick to their own sport. Like I said, Mayweather did it for money. McGregor did it for money. And I think it's a joke. I think that boxing is not doing very well. Mayweather was their last superstar, and they're hurting for superstars. So they were trying to bring attention back to boxing, and so that's what it's all about. So again, better fight than I thought. Result what I thought. Well, first of all, I didn't really like what McGregor said after the fight. He basically said that Mayweather wasn't that fast and he wasn't that powerful, which, okay. So basically you're saying you lost to a man who wasn't that fast and wasn't that powerful, which I didn't understand. But yeah, Mayweather needs to stay retired. I mean, he's way out of his prime, way out of his prime. Unlike, for example, a power boxer like George Foreman, who came back and fought in his early 40s. He was a power fighter. Mayweather's a finesse speed guy. And if you're going to lose anything, it's going to be your speed and timing. And so I think Mayweather absolutely needs to stay retired. I don't even think he should have took this fight. I think it was just pathetic. And McGregor should just stick to MMA. Now I do understand there's more money in boxing, but he just should stick to MMA, because I don't see him being able to compete at the higher level of boxing. He's 29 years old. He would have to train for a year or two straight in boxing. So he's going to be in his early 30s, trying to compete for belts and stuff with guys that have been competing since they were teenagers in the sport. So my advice to both of them is, Mayweather, go back into retirement, buy more Lamborghinis and gold chains. And McGregor, why don't you try zipping your mouth shut and training really hard in MMA and stick to the sport that brought you to where you're at. Stick with the UFC. UFC is a great organization. Stick with them. Oh, absolutely no. Boxing is better than MMA in boxing, but MMA is there is no. An MMA fighter would destroy a boxer if he was able to use MMA rules. If he's able to kick, do takedowns, use elbows and knees, it's a completely different world. But when you limit the MMA fighter to just boxing, then the MMA fighter wins. It's just like me as a Jeet Kune Do instructor. The street is my world. If you take me, I've got 40 plus years experience. I've been in hundreds of fights. I've been a bouncer, a bodyguard. I've been in knife fights. I've been shot at. I've fought 2 or 3 guys at a time. I fought guys twice my size. But if you were to take me and put me in a ring and say you can't do eye pokes, you can't bite, you can't kick to the groin, you can't do all the things that I'm really good at doing, I will get lit up. But if you take an MMA guy and say you need to fight that guy in the street, I've got the advantage now. And it's the same thing with boxing and MMA. You take an MMA guy, stick him in a boxing ring, and the boxer has the advantage. You take the boxer, put him in MMA in the cage, and the MMA guy has an advantage. So that's why I always say it's 2 different worlds. So the answer is, they're both. If you had to say which one is better for actual fighting, it's MMA. MMA is closer to Jeet Kune Do than any other sport there is, which is fighting in all ranges, fighting groundwork, kicking, boxing, clinch work. That's all what MMA is about. Where boxing's boxing. The sweet science. There's basically only 5 techniques, and people master those techniques. And so to answer your question, MMA is a lot more deadlier than boxing, but when you take MMA and put it in the world of boxing, boxing is superior.